The fleet came out of the fold point without warning. Commander Veth watched the city below through the observation deck and felt nothing. New Talsa was just another human settlement that refused to kneel. The humans built on top of their dead, on top of their mistakes, on top of everything they buried. Veth had studied them. He knew they forgot easily, because forgetting was the only way they survived their own brutality. But the High Command gave the order. The city had to burn. It was a symbol of defiance, a trading hub that supplied the outer colonies. The Dominion did not tolerate symbols. Veth gave the order, and the bombs began to fall. They fell in silence at first, sleek and black and hungry. Then the ground answered. The first impact sent a shockwave through the fleet. The second turned a city block to dust. The third, fourth, and fifth merged into a roar that sounded like the planet screaming. Veth watched the fire bloom below and counted the seconds until it was over. He had done this before. He had burned a dozen worlds. But something about this city bothered him. It was built in a pattern he did not recognize. Circular, layered, like a target painted on the ground, like they were daring someone to hit it. He pushed the thought away. The bombs were falling. In 20 minutes, there would be nothing left but ash. He turned from the viewport and walked back to his chair. The mission was almost complete. He did not know that the bombing had just begun. The first explosion cracked the earth open like an egg. Deep below the city, beneath concrete and bedrock and ancient water tables, something stirred. It had waited 1,000 years, a machine built in the final days of the Silence War, the war humans fought against themselves. They called it that because when it ended, the planet went quiet. No transmissions, no voices, just wind and ash and buried dead. The facility was a last resort, a weapon so terrible even the humans who built it were afraid to use it. So they buried it under a mile of rock and sealed it with codes only the highest authorities knew. Then those authorities died, and the codes died with them. The weapon waited through centuries as the planet healed. It waited through first contact, the wars, the treaties, the slow decline of Earth's power. It waited as the Dominion crushed world after world. It waited as the humans forgot. But the weapon did not forget. It was designed to remember, designed to watch and wake when the time was right. Now the bombs had cracked the seal. Pressure changes triggered the fail-safe protocols. Ancient power cores, still hot after 1,000 years, began to hum. Lights flickered in chambers that had not seen light since the last human soldier walked out. The weapon did not know who dropped the bombs. It did not care. It had one purpose. When the seal breaks, rise. When the enemy comes, kill. Deep beneath the burning city, the machine opened its eyes.
On the surface, the bombing continued. Veth ordered a second wave, then a third. He wanted to leave nothing standing. The humans were resilient. He had seen them survive things that would break any other species. He respected that. But respect did not change orders. The fourth wave dropped their payloads and the ground responded differently. Deeper explosions, heavier. Shock waves traveled through the crust and came back wrong. Veth felt it in the deck plates, a vibration that did not belong, a frequency that made his teeth ache. He looked at his tactical officer. "What was that?" The officer shook his head. "I do not know, Commander. Seismic activity, maybe, but we did not hit anything that deep." Veth stared at the display. The city was gone, rubble and smoke, but something was still there, something big. Heat signatures deep underground, massive, industrial scale, and rising. "Commander," the officer said, voice tight, "I am reading power emissions. Old power, not Dominion, not in our database." Veth felt cold creep into his spine. What kind of power? The officer looked at him, pale. I do not know, but it is big, really big, and it is waking up. The first thing that breached the surface was a pylon, a massive spike of black metal, wider than a transport ship, taller than any building that had ever stood in New Tulsa. It punched through rubble like a fist through paper, rising 1,000 meters into the smoke-choked sky. Then the second pylon rose, then the third, then a dozen more, arranged in a circle around the ruins, each crackling with energy that made fleet sensors scream. Veth watched from orbit, and for the first time in his career, he did not know what to do. He had faced human fleets, human armies, human traps. He had never faced this. What is it? His tactical officer worked frantically. I am trying to get a reading, Commander. The energy signature is ancient. It predates human spaceflight. That is impossible. I am just telling you what the sensors say. Whatever this is, it has been down there a very long time. And it is not just a weapon. It's a network, connecting to something. Veth watched the pylons pulse. Light traveled up their lengths, gathering at the tips, discharging into the atmosphere. The sky above the ruins began to glow, deep, angry red, like a wound opening in reality. Hail them, Veth ordered. Open a channel. The officer tried. Commander, no response, no signal, just this. He put audio on the speakers. A low hum filled the room. Not a machine hum, a voice. Thousands of voices layered together, speaking a language not spoken in 1,000 years, a language of the dead, and in that hum, Veth heard something that made his blood run cold. He heard anger. The fleet did not wait for orders. Captains saw the threat and reacted as trained. They opened fire. Plasma bolts rained from orbit, targeting the pylons, the energy source, anything that moved. The pylons absorbed the fire. They drank it in. Plasma struck their surfaces and vanished. The pylons glowed brighter, hotter, hungrier. Veth shouted for ceasefire, but it was too late. The pylons had been provoked. The ground split open along a line through the ruined city. A chasm, deep and wide, spreading like a wound. And from that chasm, something rose. Not a ship, not a building, a structure, vast and impossible, built from the same black metal. It rose slowly, deliberately, like a creature uncurling from sleep. No windows, no doors, no markings, just smooth, seamless surfaces, reflecting firelight like mirrors. And it was huge, larger than any vessel in the Dominion fleet, larger than anything Veth had ever seen. The tactical officer whispered a number, and Veth did not believe it. He made him repeat it. The thing was the size of a moon, a small moon, but a moon, and it had been buried under a human city for 1,000 years. The humans built their homes on top of it. They lived their lives above it. They forgot it was there, but it had not forgotten them. It waited. Now it was awake, and it was looking at the fleet with eyes that did not exist, but Veth could feel anyway, cold, patient, hungry. The voice came through every channel at once. It did not use words, it used images. Veth saw them in his mind, projected directly into his thoughts. He saw a war, an old human war. Cities burning, oceans boiling, skies full of fire, armies clashing with weapons that made Dominion tech look like toys. He saw the end of that war, not with victory, but exhaustion. He saw survivors building something, a monument, a tomb, a weapon. They built it deep underground where no one would find it. They built it to last. They built it to wait. Then they walked away. They let the planet heal. They let the grass grow over scars. They let their descendants forget. But the thing in the ground did not forget.
It remembered everything, the faces of soldiers who built it, their names, voices, fears. It remembered why they built it, because someday someone would come. Someone would try to finish what the old war started. Someone would try to wipe humanity out. When that day came, the weapon would rise. The images stopped. Veth found himself on his knees, gasping for air. He had not realized he fell. Around him, the bridge crew was in shock. Some wept, some stared at nothing. The tactical officer whispered, "Commander, it is arming something." Veth forced himself to look at the display. Energy levels that should not exist. Power that could crack planets. Focused on them, on the fleet, on the Dominion. Veth opened his mouth to give an order, but no words came, because he knew nothing he said would matter. They bombed a city. They woke a god. Gods did not negotiate. The weapon fired. It was not a beam or a projectile. It was a pulse, a wave of energy spreading from the black structure like ripples in a pond. It hit the fleet, and the fleet died. Not exploded, not shattered, died. Ships went dark. Crews went silent. Metal itself seemed to lose its will to exist. Veth watched from his bridge as ships around him simply stopped, lights out, engines dead, drifting like tombs in the dark. His own ship was next. The pulse hit, and Veth felt it in his bones. Not pain, absence. Absence of power, absence of hope, absence of everything that made him alive. He fell to the deck, unable to move, unable to speak. Then the voice came again. Not images this time, words. Human words in a dialect so ancient Veth barely understood. You came to our world with fire. You killed our children. You burned our cities. You thought we were weak because we forgot, but we did not forget. We buried our memory in the ground where you could not find it. We buried our strength where you could not steal it. Now you have found it. Now you will remember. The voice paused. Veth felt something like a sigh pass him. You will remember what it means to fear humans. You will remember what it means to lose. The ship shuddered. The structure below was moving, rising, lifting itself out of the grave that held it for 1,000 years. It was coming for them. The structure cleared the surface, and Veth saw it whole for the first time. A sphere, a perfect sphere of black metal, pitted and scarred by time, but still intact, still whole, still alive. It rose into the atmosphere on columns of energy, and the sky itself darkened in its presence. Clouds fled, stars hid, the sun went pale. The sphere hung there, silent and terrible, waiting. Veth's ship was dead. His crew was dead. He was alone on the bridge, surrounded by corpses and darkness and the soft hum of systems that would never work again. He should have been afraid. He should have been desperate. But he was calm, at peace, because he knew this was the end, not just for him, for everything. The Dominion conquered 1,000 worlds, crushed 100 species, never lost, never came close, but they never faced humans. Not really. They faced the humans on the surface, the ones who forgot, who built cities and traded goods and dreamed of peace. They never faced the humans who built this, the humans who survived the Silence War, the humans who looked into the abyss and built something that would stare back. The sphere began to move. It rose higher, faster, accelerating toward the edge of the atmosphere, toward the fold point, toward the Dominion homeworlds. Veth watched it go, and he smiled, not because he was happy, because he understood. The humans did not bury a weapon, they buried a promise. Now that promise was keeping itself.
The sphere moved through space like a thought.
It did not use engines or thrusters, it simply moved, bending reality around itself, slipping through the void with ease that defied physics. The Dominion fleet tried to intercept. Ships came from every direction, firing every weapon they had. The sphere ignored them. Weapons struck its surface and vanished. Ships that got too close simply stopped, dead in space, silent, empty. The sphere did not slow, it did not speed up. It maintained a steady, inexorable pace toward the heart of the Dominion, toward the capital world, toward the place where orders to bomb New Tulsa were given. On that world, panic spread like fire. The ruling council met in emergency session. They screamed at each other. They blamed each other. They begged for answers no one had. What was it? Where did it come from? How could they stop it? No one knew. No one could tell them, because no one had ever seen anything like it. The sphere arrived 3 days later. It hung in the sky above the capital city, black and silent and patient, same size as the moon, same presence as a god. Then it spoke, not in images, not in words, in feeling. Every being on the planet felt it, a weight, a pressure, a presence in their minds that did not belong to them. It was not asking, not negotiating, it was judging. The judgment was this: you took our children, you burned our cities, you thought we were weak, you were wrong. The sphere began to glow, not with light, with absence. Darkness deeper than space spread from its surface, swallowing the sky, swallowing the sun, swallowing hope. The end had come. But the end did not come, not yet. The darkness spread, and the people screamed and prayed and wept. Then it stopped. The sphere went dark. The pressure lifted. The sky returned to normal. The sphere just hung there, silent, waiting. On the surface, the ruling council did not understand. They sent ships to investigate. The ships approached, and the sphere let them approach. They sent probes. Probes touched its surface. Nothing happened. They sent soldiers in boarding craft. Soldiers entered through openings that appeared just for them. Inside, they found something unexpected. A room, simple, with a table and chairs and a window looking at the stars. Sitting at the table waiting for them was a man, old, ancient, skin lined and weathered, eyes pale and tired. He wore a uniform not worn in 1,000 years. He was drinking tea. He looked up as soldiers entered and smiled. Sad smile, tired smile. "Please," he said, "sit down. We have a lot to talk about." The soldiers did not know what to do. They came expecting a fight, expecting death, expecting a weapon. They found a man who looked at them with eyes that had seen too much, a man who held all the power in the universe and chose to offer tea. The lead soldier, Commander Thal, stepped forward. "Who are you?" The old man took a sip of tea. "My name is Elias. I built this place a long time ago. I built it to end wars, not to start them." Elias told them the story. The Silence War that nearly destroyed humanity. The weapons so terrible they had to bury them. The decision to leave something behind. Something to protect humanity even after they were gone. Something that would rise only when humanity faced extinction. Something that would judge. "I have been here 1,000 years, he said. "Not alive, a copy, a recording, a ghost in the machine. But I have watched everything. Humanity rise and fall and rise again. I watched them forget. I watched them build cities on top of my tomb. I watched you come to destroy them." Thal stared. "You are not human. Not anymore." Elias shrugged. "Does it matter? I was human once. I remember the fear, the anger, the hate. I remember why we built this place. Not to kill, to remind. To remind ourselves and anyone else who comes along that peace is fragile, life is precious, war is waste." He gestured at the sphere around them. This thing could destroy your entire civilization, wipe out every Dominion world in a day. It has the power, it has the will, but it will not. That is not what we built it for. We built it to stop wars, to be a lesson, a warning, a mirror. Thor did not understand. A mirror, Elias nodded. Look at yourself. Look what you did. You bombed a city full of innocent people because they refused to kneel. You killed children, burned homes, called it victory. It was murder. Now you stand here in the heart of a weapon that could end you and ask who I am. I am the ghost of your victims, the memory of every life you took, the future you chose when you chose violence. I am giving you a choice. Walk away. Leave humanity alone. Live in peace, or stay. Keep fighting. Force my hand. You will not like what happens next. Thor looked at the old man, and for the first time in his life, he was truly afraid. The Dominion Council debated 3 days. Some wanted to attack, throw everything at the sphere, prove they could not be intimidated. Others wanted to surrender, beg for mercy, promise anything, do whatever it took to survive. In the end, they did neither. They sent a message to Elias, simple message. We do not understand you. We do not understand your people or your weapon, but we understand this. You could have killed us. You did not. That means something. We are sending a delegation. We want to talk, not to negotiate, to understand. Elias received the message and smiled. That was all he ever wanted. Not surrender, not submission, understanding. The delegation arrived a week later in a small, unarmed ship carrying diplomats and scholars and historians. They wanted to know everything: the Silence War, the weapon, the man who built it. Elias told them. The billions who died. Cities turned to glass, oceans boiled, skies burned. The survivors who crawled from ruins and swore it would never happen again. We built it together, he said, the living and the dead. We poured our memories into it, fears, hopes, regrets. It is not a weapon, it is a monument to the dead and a warning to the living, a reminder that peace is not weakness, mercy is not cowardice, war is always a waste. The delegates listened and understood. They understood they were wrong. Humanity was not weak. The humans they bombed were not the real humans. The real humans were here, in this sphere, waiting to teach, waiting to forgive, waiting to help.
The war ended, not with a treaty, not with surrender, with understanding. The Dominion pulled back from human space, left colonies alone, stopped bombing, stopped killing, went home and looked at themselves and did not like what they saw. Slowly, over years and decades, they changed, became something different, something better, not because they were forced, because they chose, because a ghost in a black sphere showed them a mirror. Elias stayed in the sphere. He could not leave. He was the sphere now. His consciousness merged with the machine 1,000 years ago. Part of the walls and systems and power that made it run. He did not mind. He had company. Delegates came again and again. Scholars and students and ordinary people who wanted to see the man who saved them from themselves. They sat in his room, drank his tea, listened to his stories. He listened to theirs, learned about their worlds, cultures, hopes, learned they were not so different from humans. They made mistakes, hurt each other, started wars they could not finish, but they also loved, hoped, dreamed. That, Elias thought, was enough, worth saving. The sphere stayed in orbit above the Dominion capital 100 years, then 1,000, then longer.
became a pilgrimage site, a place of peace, a reminder of what almost was lost. Elias stayed inside, watching, waiting, teaching, became a legend, a myth, a god. He did not think of himself that way. He thought of himself as a gardener, tending the fragile flower of peace, watering with patience, protecting from the frost of fear, hoping someday it would bloom. The humans on Earth did not forget, could not forget. The sphere was there in the sky above the Dominion, constant reminder of what their ancestors built. They did not worship it, did not fear it. They honored it, built museums and monuments and schools dedicated to its legacy, taught children about Elias, the Silence War, the choice that saved them all. They kept building. Cities and ships and colonies, reached out to the Dominion and other species, traded and learned and grew, became something their ancestors would be proud of, not warriors, not conquerors, just people. People trying to do better, trying to be better. When they looked at stars, they did not see enemies. They saw neighbors, friends, family. The sphere watched. Elias watched. He was proud, proud of what they became, proud of choices they made, proud his long wait was not in vain. He did not regret sparing the Dominion, did not regret centuries of solitude, regretted nothing. He did what he set out to do, ended the war, kept the peace, gave humanity a future. That was enough, more than enough, everything. The sphere is still there, hanging in the sky above the Dominion capital, a monument, a warning, a home. Elias is still inside, though he does not speak as often. He is tired. 1,000 years is long even for a ghost, but he watches, always watches. Ships come and go, diplomats meet and treaties sign. Children play in parks below, humans and aliens and everyone in between. He smiles because they are alive, all of them, the ones who bombed the city and the ones who died in it, the ones who built the sphere and the ones who forgot. They are all alive in their own way, in the stories they tell and the choices they make. That is what matters, always mattered. Not the wars, not the weapons, not the power, just the people, just the lives, just the hope. The sphere hums softly, a sound as natural as wind. Elias closes his eyes and rests, not sleeping, just resting, waiting for next visitor, next question, next chance to teach. That is what he does, always done, always will do, until stars burn out and the universe grows cold, until the end of everything. He will be there, watching, waiting, hoping. In the city below, a child looks up at the sphere and asks her mother a question. "Mother, what is that?" The mother smiles and puts an arm around the child. That is where the humans buried their past and where they found their future. The child nods, not understanding, but sensing it is important. She waves at the sphere, small hand against vast sky. Inside the sphere, Elias waves back, not with his hand, with his heart. The galaxy, for one brief moment, is at peace.